everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today I am here with a slightly different kind of video. Since this is my birthday month and I was looking for some video ideas, I remembered that a few months ago Shelley Swearingen posted this video as a way to get to know your fellow creators outside of their book taste, and I thought that'd be a perfect fit. So today I'm going to answer her 8 questions for readers that aren't really about books or reading. Now I know she also based this on someone else's questions, so if I can find out who that person was, I will try and link them down below as well, but thank you, Shelley, at least, for bringing it to my attention. The first question is, what is your favorite kind of food? And I do have one, but it does come with a caveat. And the caveat is that I have at least 4 major food allergies, which makes eating very exciting, and we have to get very creative. I can have no shellfish, I can have no nuts, and I can have no dairy, including dairy in cake batter or in cookies or in bread dough. That's the really exciting one. With that, my 2 favorite kinds of cuisine really are Italian and Asian, with the provisos that I make them at home so that I know what's going into them. Contrary to popular belief, a lot of Italian food does not have to be smothered in cream or cheese, and my mother has Italian heritage, so that's mainly what I've grown up eating, and I absolutely adore it. Asian, again, provided I make it at home to avoid any shellfish or nut contamination, is fantastic. We have a really great recipe for bulgogi beef, for vegetable fried rice, for a teriyaki stir fry of ground turkey. Really, really wonderful things, and yeah, they are my absolute favorites. I've always loved a salty or savory palate. That being said, we try to do a roast dinner most Sundays, and I love a good old-fashioned roast chicken. It's simple, but it is just ultra comforting. Number 2, what is your favorite kind of music? That is so difficult. I have such wide-ranging taste. Honestly, if I skim through my iTunes collection, let's skim through my iTunes collection, see what I have. I was a massive country fan in high school. 2000s country has a very strong hold on my heart. That being said, 70s country also has a massive hold on my heart because that is what my mother grew up listening to and loving. So I ended up listening to a lot of it when I was younger as well. But 2000s country, like Keith Urban and Josh Turner at the time and Sugarland, I absolutely adore their music. Then when I got into my college years, I discovered British pop and alt-rock and the very British invasion type of sound that was coming out of those genres at the time, and fell in love with that as well. Groups like Adele and Franz Ferdinand and Duffy, Imelda May, oh my gosh, I could go on and on and on. If you've been around the channel for a while, you know I love classical music and opera. I think Mozart is probably my favorite composer, followed by Verdi, but again, wide range of taste there. I also love early and Baroque or early classical genres because I grew up listening to it. There was a program on public radio called Sunday Morning Baroque. At least there used to be. I don't know if it's still on. And that was a tradition. We would make a fancy breakfast before we went to church, and Sunday Morning Baroque would always be on the radio while we did that, and it just felt extra special. So I have an extra special connection to it. I was also a Spanish major, so I was then exposed to a lot of different kinds of music in Spanish. My favorite being David Bisbal. I love him as a singer. I love the homage he pays to flamenco and traditional types of Spanish music in his pop music. It's really fantastic. I was an Irish dancer, so Celtic music, Irish and Scottish bands form a huge part of my collection. I love soundtracks. Again, classical music influences my love for film soundtracks and soundtracks of period dramas that I love. I'm also a massive Broadway fan and theater nerd, so I have a load of Broadway cast recordings. I also became a massive BTS fan a few years ago, the K-pop band. One of my students introduced me to them, and I discovered I actually really like them, so I have all of their albums. Even if I just skim through the beginning of my iTunes, we'll see I have Adele, Alicia Dixon, Alan Jackson, Alanis Morissette, some classical soundtracks, a recording that Neil Gaiman and Amanda Palmer did back in 2014, I think. Arctic Monkeys, Amy Winehouse, Hadestown, Battlefield Band, Bastille, Doctor Who soundtracks, The Beatles, some opera, Big and Rich, Riverdance, Billy Piper, Billy Connolly, Bruno Mars, Brad Paisley, lots of BTS, Carolina Chocolate Drops, which were a great trad band who tried to resurrect Black folk music and bluegrass. They were wonderful. Carrie Underwood, Chameleon Circuit, The Civil Wars, Coldplay, David Bisbal, Dierks Bentley, Ed Sheeran, Eleanor Tomlinson, Elena Garancha. It just goes on and on and on. Florence and the Machine, I adore. The Fratellis, Gaelic Storm, my absolute favorite. George Ezra, I wish on his next concert tour, whensoever that may be, that he would do a US or Canadian gig, because I would pay lots of money to see him. Into Green Day and Gretchen Wilson and everything in between. Number 3, if you were prevented from reading ever again, what would you do? Well, first I would probably cry, because I genuinely cannot remember a time when I could not read. I learned to read at about 3.5, and I really don't remember what it was like to not read. That being said, I do have a number of other hobbies that I try to still actively pursue. I was a dancer for many years, so maybe I would have the time to pursue more bar classes or a workout that is similar to dancing, if not dancing itself. I sing. I still take weekly voice lessons to keep my voice in good shape. I am a theater nerd. Maybe I would try out some Amdram groups in my area. I might actually finish a lot of the craft projects that are hanging around my home. I crochet, I knit, I cross stitch. I might pick up an instrument again. I played the violin for many years, and I started to learn the piano a few years ago, and then that fell through. But I still have the keyboard set up in my office, so maybe I would pick that up again. I'm also a big proponent of puzzles and movies and TV watching. Number 4 asks, what's your favorite city? And for me, it has to be Bath. There is no competition. I lived there for a while as a student, and it still feels like home. It's low to the ground. It feels spacious. There's air to breathe. It's a very manageable size. I can walk it very easily. Everyone is friendly and helpful, and it's just beautiful. It's relatively quiet. It is absolutely my kind of city. Don't get me wrong, I love living close to New York City. I love having easy access to everything that is in New York City, but it's not my favorite place to be, especially for long periods of time. Bath, however, I could easily live in, no questions asked. Number 5 asks, what is your favorite alcoholic beverage? And I don't drink anymore. I was never a big drinker. I might have one drink a week. But after a while, I discovered it was really upsetting my stomach. So I have cut out alcohol, caffeine, carbonated beverages, and that has seemed to help a great deal. So when I could drink, I loved a tinto de verano, which I learned to drink in Spain, in which I take sweet red wine and pour in lots of fruit-flavored soda. For those of you in the US, not Orange Crush, more like San Pellegrino. You could do it with orange, which was my favorite, or with lemon, or with just plain seltzer. So then, what is my favorite non-alcoholic beverage? And I'll be honest, after cutting out all of those other options, I really just drink water. Most of the time, I am drinking water, which is amazing because I did not drink at all as a child. I was barely hydrated, and now I can't live without water. That being said, I will still have a mug of peppermint tea every night. That's part of my nighttime ritual, and it is just cozy and delightful. Number 7, what is your favorite time of day? And I'll be honest, it depends on the day. I am relatively a morning person. I rarely sleep past 9 o'clock, and I feel horribly guilty if I do. I am able to get things done fairly early in the morning. I'm not nearly as good as my mother is yet. She is a speed demon. But I do enjoy them, and I find them a delightful time of day. That being said, I also enjoy darker evenings when you get to be very cozy and gather around a good dinner, the pellet stove, maybe put on some fairy lights. That kind of coziness is also just ultra comforting to me. So it goes both ways. And number 8, what is my favorite season? It has to be fall. I love the autumn. I am an autumn baby. So I think I naturally incline towards this time of year. I love the shorter days and how cozy it then allows me to be. I'll be honest, I don't love it still being light out at 8 o'clock at night in the summer. I really don't. I don't like the heat. None of that is fun to me. So autumn marks the beginning of my time, the time when my body and my soul are going to be the most comfortable, and that is just a wonderful feeling. I do enjoy spring when it finally arrives in terms of seeing the leaves come out, seeing the new growth start to happen, seeing how green everything starts to be again. But that's also when my allergies start. I have terrible hay fever for 3/4 of the year, so that aspect is not so much fun. Autumn, however, is the sweet spot of the year, I think. So those are my answers to these 8 questions. If you would also like to answer them, I have put them in the description down below, along with links to Shelley's original video, or at least the one that inspired mine. Let me know down below if you have similar experiences or if you feel very differently from me. I would love to hear why you think that. Until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.